Guys, please confirm to me. All of you are getting my voice on screen. Those who are attending in online. Guys, please confirm to me. All of you are getting my voice on screen. Those who are attending in online. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks a lot, guys. Okay, fine. All right. Good morning, guys. And check it what we completed there in the last session. So I think so. We are discussing about modules of overview, Spring modules of overview. Okay. In that Spring modules of overview, already we started there. So what are the various modules here we started? Just I want to give some overall view of these modules. So core module, JDBC DAO module, AOP module, ORM module, transactions, web MVC. These are the various modules we used to cover as part of the Spring framework. Just at least basic information of these modules here we are going to understand. Already I explained up to like what there, up to AOP module we understood clearly. The next one is what there, ORM module here we have to follow. What is this ORM module actually? What is the purpose of this ORM module? AOP? Yeah. Nothing, sir. Just AOP in the sense, aspect orientation in the sense, see, in every enterprise application, we need some services. What services we require now? Maybe data validations, security, that means part of the security authentication, uh, like internationalization, all these many services we require for every enterprise application. Okay. In a regular object oriented programming style, if we want to provide these services, we have to combine both the business logic and as well as the services logic in a combination, tightly coupled, not suggestible. Then where we need to go for AOP, aspect orientation style. What is that aspect orientation style there? What we are going to do now? We will separate these services from the business logic. We will declare each and every service as what there as an aspect. We will inject these aspects into the business logic wherever we require, whenever we require. Okay, declaring aspects, injecting these aspects into our business logic, and maintaining these aspects and tracing these aspects. To do all these things, we need to go for AOP, aspect oriented programming. This is the main intention now. Right, where we are going to do this AOP actually. If we observe this enterprise application development, where we are able to have presentation layer, next controller layer, then after that what next one there, service layer, next one is a data layer, next a database. In a service layer, exactly in service layer, we are going to use all these AOP related stuff. In an enterprise application development, in the service layer, we are going to do all these aspects and their injections and everything we are going to understand. That's the main intention of like what their AOP, not more than that. Okay, so clear, right? Next one is after that, after completion of this, ORM. What is this ORM actually? Object relational mapping. What is the meaning of this object relational mapping there? It's a mapping between a class. It's a mapping between a class from object orientation to a table in a relational data model. See, If we go for any enterprise applications, in that enterprise applications, definitely we have to prepare front end application and back end. Front end and back end, these two things are existed now. Back end in the sense like database, we can understand. Database, inside this database, our data will be represented in the form of relational data model. In the form of relational data model, in the sense, in the form of tables only, we are going to represent the data. But in the front end application development, that is total Java application development, if you observe this, the total data will be represented in the form of what? Objects. So for example, Java program is existed here. This is Java program. And this is what their database. Java program and database. Now here, we are going to see, this is database. Inside this database, there is a table, assume it, EMP1 table. Now here, what we are trying to do there, now here, ENO, ENAME, EADDR, there is a table like this. This would be a table. Okay. Now here we are able to have some columns also. Now this is relational data model. This is what their relational data model. If you think this is Java application, if you think it is a Java application, Java is an object-oriented programming language or not? Java is what? Is an object-oriented programming language. Whenever it is an object-oriented programming language, there definitely the data is going to be represented in the form of objects only. Java application, it means that it follows object-oriented data. That means first we have to represent class employee. Then inside this class employee, what properties we require there? Int ENO, string ename, then string EADDR. Apart from this, some methods here we are able to have. Number of methods here we are able to have. Observe carefully. This is about class in object orientation style. But if we want to store any data into the database table, at the Java side, we need to create an employee object or not? This is an employee object here we are trying to create. Inside this employee object, what data here we are able to have there? You can observe this clearly, the data now. The data would be ENO is equal to 111, ename is equal to AAA, ename is equal to AAA, then EADDR is equal to, say for example, IDFH. This is what there, an object, employee object. Okay. Now my requirement is what? This object to data I want to store into the database table. I need to store this object to data into the database table. If you want to store this object to data into the database table, first we need some mapping between object orientation and relational data model or not. That means this employee objects have to be stored in EMP1 table only. We have to specify that information. ENO variable data must be stored in ENO column only. ename variable data must be stored in ename column only. EADDR data will be stored in EADDR column only. We have to specify that information. Then only the data will be stored in the respective locations. Right? To provide such type of mapping between these two, now here we need to go for some mapping related things. Here we need to go for like what their mapping. Which type of mapping here we are providing there? Now tell me, the mapping should be here configuration in the form of XML file. We are going to provide configuration, or maybe in the form of annotation we are going to provide this configuration. Here employee is a class or not? That employee class should be mapped with the EMP1 table. So where we are providing mapping between a class and a table. Next one is ENO property must be mapped with what they know? ENO property. ENO, capital NO is a column in the database table. Small eno is what there, a property in the employee. Next one is like what there, e-name will be mapped with the e-name property. Next one is EADDR will be mapped with what there, EADDR. Of course, in a Java program, property names may be or may not be same as the column names in the database table. Here we need some mapping or not? Now tell me here, we are providing purely mapping between an object and a relation in a database or not? So object from object oriented data model and a tabular relation from what they know, relational data model. So that overall mapping is nothing but object relational mapping. Object relational mapping. In other words, we may call it as like what there, ORM. ORM. So to provide mapping in order to perform database operations, to provide mapping between object orientation data model, relational data model, in order to perform database operations from Java application to the database, to perform this, here we need to go for number of implementations for this ORM. Number of implementations are available for ORM, where one of the implementation is like what there, Hibernate. One of the implementation of ORM is what? No, Hibernate. ORM is a theory. ORM is an abstraction. It's a theory. But the theory is implemented by a tool. The tool is what they know? Hibernate. Hibernate is a tool which implements ORM. That's why Hibernate is a ORM implemented tool. Hibernate is what there? ORM implemented tool. Observe carefully. So this is what exactly the meaning of Hibernate here. That's okay, fine. Like this, so many tools are available. Not only Hibernate, so many tools are available, but not required. All these things are not required. Just we have to understand the Hibernate. So from this, what we are understanding clearly, what is Hibernate, what is ORM, that we understood or not. So Hibernate is a tool. It can be used to provide mapping between object orientation data model from Java and the relational data model from the Oracle. So between class and table, object and record, primary key column and the ID property, and normal columns and with the normal properties. The total mapping here we have to provide or not? To provide mapping and to perform database operations, here we are having a separate content. That content is nothing but like what they know, ORM. That ORM is implemented in the form of a tool. The tool is called as what? Hibernate. Hibernate is a product which implements ORM. Okay, sir. So Hibernate is available. Hibernate is available in outside. Open link is available. Like this, different ORM tools are available. No need to think much about it. But Hibernate is one of the tool. Good. Here my point is what? For interacting with the database, already we have JDBC. Then what is the requirement to go for ORM? In the sense, a number of advantages are available. A number of advantages are available to interact with the database from Java application. Already we have JDBC. Then what is the requirement to go for ORM? That means Hibernate. In the sense, a number of examples we can talk. One of the example is what? One simple example is what? In JDBC, SQL queries we have to write. But in ORM, without writing SQL queries, we can perform database operations. Without writing SQL queries, ORM is able to implement all the database operations. As per our directions, it able to work. Flexibility we are able to get with Hibernate when compared with what their JDBC. Understand up to this point here. Okay, but my point is what? I'm trying to prepare my enterprise application by using Spring Framework. By using Spring Framework, I'm preparing an enterprise application. In the enterprise application, I need to interact with the database or not? In enterprise applications, I have to interact with the database or not? Okay. For interacting with the database, for performing database operations, I feel comfortable with the Hibernate. I feel very much comfortable with the Hibernate. So I want to implement all the database operations with the Hibernate. But enterprise application, I prepared with what there no Spring Framework. So my entire business logic is available with the Spring Framework, but my database logics I implemented with the Hibernate. So Hibernate is ready my Spring application is also be ready. But if you want to complete this total enterprise application, we need to integrate this Hibernate application with the Spring framework or not. We have to integrate this Hibernate application with the Spring framework. As I said to you previously, Spring framework has provided a predefined support for integrating some other technology applications with the Spring framework. There is a predefined layer to integrating all these Hibernate applications with the Spring applications. That integration layer is nothing but what? Spring ORM module. For providing simplicity of integrating Hibernate applications or any ORM implementation, not only Hibernate, any ORM implementation can take, that to integrate these ORM implementations with the Spring application, we have some layer, we have some predefined support. That predefined support is provided in the form of like what there? ORM module inside the Spring framework. Understand my point clearly? In a Spring framework, ORM is available. What is its main intention? To integrate the ORM implemented applications with the Spring applications. The main purpose of Spring ORM module is to integrate ORM implemented applications with the Spring applications. For this particular reason only, we are having Spring ORM module. In our classes, we are going to see how to prepare programs with Hibernate, how to integrate the Hibernate application with the Spring, how to prepare programs with Hibernate, how to integrate the Hibernate application with the Spring framework, how to prepare database related operations with the JPA, and how to integrate the JPA application with our Spring framework. All these many things here we are going to understand clearly. But in the respective location, I will discuss about the points now. Sir, all of you okay or not? No response. Okay, fine. Next one is what? Then after that, after completion of this particular content here, after this ORM implementation, the next one would be, all right, sir, transactions. See, this topic maybe I will discuss effectively in the right location, but at least overview we can understand that. If you want to perform transactions in enterprise applications, we need to have some implementations. Some implementations we required. Say for example, JTA is available. Java Transaction API is existed, is a middleware service. I want to get it support. Not only that, if you know JDBC, in JDBC transaction management is available or not? In JDBC transaction management is exist or not? To achieve the same transaction management in effective mode, in more effective manner, we are going to use what they know, that is Spring transactions. In Hibernate also transaction management is available. In Hibernate also we are having transaction management. More than that, if we want to implement transactions in a Spring applications, there we have to go for like what? No, transactions. See, what is the meaning of transaction first? What is the meaning of concurrent transactions? Then after completion of this, what are the various transaction concurrency problems? Last update problem, dirty read problem. Then after that, non-repeatable read problem. What are the various problems are existed here? All these problems, how to provide solution, how to implement this type of transaction related issues inside the Spring applications. To do all these things, there we have to go for like what now? Transaction service, where isolation levels topic is available and attributes are available. These were the main concepts of the transactions. The transactions we are going to understand effectively. But only the point is what? If you want to implement any transactions related things inside our enterprise applications, there we have to go for like what? No, Spring transactions module. That's it, not more than that. Okay, leave this guys. The next point is what I'm telling to you, web module. Okay, web is different, web MVC is different. Web is different and web MVC is different. Now try to understand it. First of all, we are going to understand web module. You see, initially I said to you, two types of frameworks are available. What are the two types of frameworks? No, web frameworks, and other one is what? Application frameworks. The web frameworks examples are what there? Struts, JSF, Xwork2, and so on. Spring framework is what there? application framework. Okay, good. Assume the situation. I have an enterprise application. To prepare this enterprise application, Spring is okay. Spring is suitable. That's okay, fine. We are using Spring framework to prepare this enterprise application. Right. Inside the Spring framework, inside this enterprise application, I need to prepare some user interface module. User interface layer I want to prepare by using Spring framework. But what I thought there, whatever the Spring we are using to prepare this user interface layer, that Spring is not supporting 100% for our requirement. Spring framework is very good, but the existed content of the Spring is not giving 100% support for our user interface layer. Then after that, I checked for alternatives in outside. I checked for alternatives in outside. If any MVC related frameworks which are available to provide support for our projects, if I observe that, where I identified Struts framework is providing good service for our requirement. JSF framework is also providing very good service for our requirement. So I decided, instead of preparing this user interface layer in the Spring framework, if I prepare the same up to that user interface layer with the struts and JSF, then it will be more impact. It will be more implementation we are able to get when compared with the Spring framework. I realized that finally I prepared my user interface layer with struts or maybe with the JSF. Then what next one? When we implement this total user interface layer with the struts or JSF, then what next one? The next one, actually our total 90% of the application is available with the Spring only. But only user interface we prepared with what there are struts and JSF. And then what next one there? We have to integrate these other third-party MVC frameworks with our framework or not, with our Spring framework application or not. 90% of the application is already prepared with the Spring, but 10% user interface is prepared with struts framework, for example. Then if we combine both, then only we are able to get 100% implementation or not. So now here we have to think how it is possible to integrate struts application with the Spring application. How to integrate the JSF application with the Spring applications. To integrate the struts and the JSF or any other MVC based frameworks applications. To integrate any MVC based frameworks applications with the Spring framework, there we have to go for like which module there? No, web module. The main purpose of web module is to integrate MVC based other applications with the Spring application. There we have to go for like what? No, web module. What are these other applications actually? What exactly that other applications there? No, we can understand maybe struts or maybe JSF or Xwork2. Different web frameworks are available. To integrate these web frameworks related applications with our Spring application, there we have to use Spring web module. Right, sir. Leave this point here. Web MVC. Now tell me, guys, all of you tell me, Struts is MVC based framework or not? Struts is what? MVC based framework. JSF is also be MVC based framework or not? Struts is MVC based framework and JSF is also be MVC based frameworks, that we understood already. Okay, now here my point is, in which way Struts has its own MVC implementation? In which way JSF has its own MVC implementation to prepare web layer? Similarly, Spring framework has its own MVC implementation. Spring framework has its own MVC implementation to prepare web related part in an enterprise application. So that particular module, that particular implementation which is provided by Spring framework for this MVC, that is nothing but Spring Web MVC. That Spring Web MVC is almost the same as like what? No, Struts framework. But Struts is not the part of Spring framework, but the Spring Web MVC is a part of the Spring framework. What exactly the implementations are available inside the Struts framework or JSF? No, similar implementations are available inside like what there? No, Spring Web MVC. Okay, web is for what purpose there? Web is for integrating Struts application with the Spring application, JSF application with the Spring application. Any MVC based application with the Spring application, if you want to integrate, there we have to use a web module. But what is the purpose of this web MVC? In which way Struts framework has provided implementation for MVC? In which way JSF framework has provided implementation for MVC? In the same way, Spring framework has its own MVC implementation. to prepare enterprise applications, to prepare web layer, web part effectively. So to prepare such type of to prepare like what there MVC based applications in its own way, there it has its own separate MVC implementation, that is like what they know web MVC, not more than that. Guys, all of you are understanding this clearly what I'm telling you know? Only few points. See, understand by seeing this how Studs is thinking about that integration part. Studs is not going to take much burden. If you prepare your application in any other frameworks, no, then Struts has the layer to integrate that other application with our Struts application. You know, that integration part is provided in a simplified manner. No other technology, no other framework has this type of integration layer. Only Spring framework has this much of integration layer. Right now, this is the overall view. This is the overall view of like what there all the modules of the Spring modules, that what we are understanding there. But if any other modules are coming there, if any other modules are coming there in the runtime, when I'm going to talk about the respective topic, there I will discuss about that other modules information. But as of now, this modules overview is sufficient clear. Right, sir? Spring MVC is there but not used since it does not provide 100% support to UA layer, right? Exactly. But nowadays, what is going to be happen over the Spring MVC? Over the Spring MVC, Spring Boot is available and microservices related applications are going on, where might be some other UI technologies we are using. As a Spring is not providing good UI part, some other UI technologies we are able to use. Time life is one of the integrated part of the Spring Boot. Time life for the sake of preparing the UI applications there. No. Yes, of course, but alternatives are available. No to think much about it. But when compared with the Spring UI, Struts and JSF are not giving much more than this. Struts and JSF are not giving more than this. Understand my point, Keno? So Spring is better, but over the Spring also still some R&D work is going on there. How to improve that look and feel for the enterprise applications which are going to be prepared by using the Spring, where one of the thing is what there might be time life is one of the part, is one of the UI based technology. We can integrate that time life kind of related things with our Spring applications anyway. This one, it's not at all good thing, is not the big thing to understand this particular point. No. Fine, anyway, then Spring has integration layers perfectly to integrate Hibernate related applications ORM module, to integrate Struts JSF related MVC based applications with the Spring application web module. Along with that, Spring has its own MVC implementation. Along with that, Spring has its own JDBC implementation. Along with that, Spring has its own like AOP implementations or transactions implementations. So Spring is mainly for integration as well as business implementations point of view. In both the point of view, we are able to utilize it. This is Spring framework clearly. Right, guys. Now leave this part here. Then after that, after understanding the basic concepts like this, then we have to go for the next topic. That means up to now, introduction part is completed. The overall theoretical part, what is the requirement to go for frameworks, why we need to go for frameworks, and these things here we are getting clearly. All right, sir. Now we need to go for like what there steps to prepare first Spring application, basic Spring application. I want to discuss with you guys. Steps to prepare first Spring applications. All right, sir. If we want to prepare any Spring application, then what we have to do now? Let's observe this clearly. Right. If you want to prepare the basic, very Spring application, what exactly the steps here we require? Listen carefully. First one is download and install. One IDE is required. If you want to prepare applications, then definitely what we required here, no, one IDE. And before that, what we required there, minimum download and install JDK. Latest version of the JDK. JDK 17 better. Better use JDK 17. Why? Because nowadays all the IDEs, all the servers are compatible with the JDK 17. Better use JDK 8 onwards support is available, but 17 is the latest version and better to use that latest version. So download and install JDK 17. Download and install IDE, but as of now I want to go for immediately Eclipse IDE. Later on I will introduce STS also. Later on I will introduce like IntelliJ IDEA also. But as of now, at present, I want to use like what there Eclipse IDE. Then after installation of this Eclipse IDE, third one is like what there. Then what we have to do there? Create a Java project. Create which project there? No, Java project in Eclipse IDE. Create Java project in Eclipse IDE. Right, sir. Number 4. All of you observe carefully. After creating Java project in Eclipse IDE, download all Spring jar files and add the required jar files to Java project. Whatever the project we prepared so far there, to that we need to download all the Spring jar files and add that required Spring jar files to the respective project. Spring framework is not like any installation mode. Spring is available in the form of totally a set of jar files. That all the jar files are available in the internet that we can download, and we have to keep them inside the library of the respective core Java project. So download all Spring jar files, add that required jar files to Java project. That's okay. In build path we have to do that. Then after that, after adding all the Spring related jar files to our project there, next one is create a bean class. Create a bean class. There only we are going to write our application logic. Bean class. Inside the beans only we are going to write our application logic. Next one is after that, create a Spring configuration file. Create a Spring configuration file. Create a Spring configuration file. After creating that Spring configuration file, create a test application in order to execute Spring applications. Create test application in order to execute Spring application. Whatever the application we prepared there, that Spring application here we want to perform. Right, sir. Create test application to prepare Spring application. That's it, guys. So first one is what we required there. JDK 1.17 is required. Download and install Eclipse IDE. Create Java project in Eclipse IDE. Download all Spring jar files and add the required jar files to Java project. Next one is create a Spring configuration file, create a test app in order to execute the Spring application. That's it, guys. Now these are the various steps here we have to follow. Now let us see one by one all the steps here. JDK is already existed in my system, I think so. I'm not going to show how to download and install JDK software. Already aware about it. Let me use that. Which is JDK here I'm using there. What is that JDK here we are using there? Java C 17.0.4. That's okay. In my system, Java requirement is satisfied. Okay, now leave this one. Next one is after that, after completion of this, what I need to do there? I need to download and install Eclipse IDE or not. Let me download that Eclipse IDE here. I don't have Eclipse IDE as of now in my system. It might be existed some other system there. Anyway, no issues. Let me download this Eclipse IDE. Eclipse download. Right, sir. Now this is like what I'm doing there. Eclipse download. That means Eclipse downloads. Click on new tab. Right, sir. Click on new tab. Get the Eclipse IDE 2022-06. Get the Eclipse IDE 2022-06. That's okay. But observe carefully. If I click on this download button, no, setup file will be downloaded. Only setup file. If I execute that setup file in my system, then only that IDE, that means that respective IDE will come. Get my point or not? But not required to install anything in this particular context. No, where there is a part download, bottom download packages part is available. This is like what are the packages. Click on this packages part. Click on this packages part. Then after click on this packages part, here we are getting number of links for downloadable links now. Eclipse ID for Java developers. That is up to core Java programming only. Eclipse ID for enterprise Java and web developers. This is for web application development and as well as what name? Enterprise application development. Then which one is suitable for me? Second one is right one. Then here I need to click on it. But here operating system wise here we have to select the IDs. Windows 86 and 64. 64 is available, no problem. Now let me click on this particular link. If we click on this particular link, now it is asking about the download option here now. Select the download, might be some information here. Now click on this Eclipse JEE 2022 06R Win32. Select this link here. Now automatically the download is going to be happen. It's going to be downloaded. Okay, no problem. My internet is somewhat fast, then we are able to complete it in a few seconds of time. Just wait for it. 495 MB is available. 495 MB. Right, sir. So one more thing I'm telling to you, for the sake of our application development, try to use all the latest versions. I will check the compatibility also. If it is compatible, then definitely we can start to use these latest versions there. Whatever it may be, whatever the IDE we want to use, that is totally related to you. You can use any type of IDE, no issues. Exactly the same versions are different versions in the sense you can understand the different versions, not exactly the same version here. If you use the same version, also be no issues. Finally, you have to understand the content. Right, sir. Now just wait 1 or 2 minutes of time, then it will be completed. Once it is completed, then we are going to use this. Okay. Almost all 200 MB is completed. Now at the same time, what I required here, this is Eclipse ID where we are preparing on. That's okay. Then I can prepare the Java project. Okay. Then after that, we need to add that Spring jar files to us or not. Here we need to add what there Spring jar files. Right, sir. Let it complete. Let it complete. Then I will show how to download the Spring jar files also. Previously, we followed one approach. I think so. In the material, the same previous approach is available, but that process is a little bit changed. The process would be changed a little bit now. So I will show how to download, how to get download of these Spring related jar files. No, try to observe this. Let it complete that. Then once it is completed, then I will start how to download, how to use the Spring framework related jar files. And apart from this, see, Apache Tomcat is a product. Their setup file is available. If you download setup file, then directly you can execute that setup file. Automatically Apache Tomcat will be installed in our system. Get my point or not? So Apache server, Apache Tomcat is a server. BAA WebLogic is also a server. BA WebLogic is also a server. So we are able to get that BA WebLogic in the form of a setup file. If we execute that setup file, then only the respective software, software is going to be installed here. If we are having setup files, for example, in some other situation, setup files may not be existed. Directly distribution will come. Installed distribution we are getting there. After installation, whatever the folder structure we are getting, no, that folder structure directly they are trying to share. That folder structure we are able to use. Anyway, now let me check this, guys. Now already I downloaded this particular one. I want to cut it. Then I'll go for E drive, softwares. Now inside this, then what I want to do there, I need to go for IDEs. Inside these IDEs, I want to prepare Eclipse IDE. Inside this Eclipse IDE, I want to store this. Okay, I want to keep my softwares in a particular location anyway. That's okay. Now apart from this, let me copy this. Let me keep this total IDE port inside like what they know, C drive. Completed. That is provided. That means the jar file is available here. So if I extract the jar file now, extract here. If I extract the jar file here, automatically no problem. I'm trying to extract this jar file. That means this total Eclipse ID under C drive. No, once it is completed, then we are able to get that Eclipse folder. Here we are getting that Eclipse folder anyway. Let me check it. Just wait for that. Previously, I think so. Eclipse ID might be existed. Now it is asking about overriding. Yeah, it's okay, guys. Now Eclipse IDE is installed. Then where we are able to get these many things. No, here Eclipse icon is available. If we double click on this icon here, automatically we are able to get the Eclipse IDE 2022-06. Maybe like 2 months back might be 06. That month only this was released there. Then better to use this latest version only. And people are asking about to do projects, to work with this Springboard microservices. Now, how much RAM is required in our systems? No specific configuration for it. Minimum 8 GB. And if you are having 16 GB, then that will be good. Well and good. In my system, it was 20 GB RAM I'm using. Okay, then operations will be fast. All right, sir. Almost all. Now here we are able to get this Eclipse IDE. Once it is open, then we are able to prepare any type of application there. No need to worry for this. Now let me check this. Once it is open, then we are able to work with this. And moreover, these total steps we are going to follow only one time, not every time here. One time only I'm going to discuss about all these things. Next time onwards, directly I'm going to prepare the projects only. So now tell me first, up to now, what we have done there? Up to now, just we downloaded Eclipse IDE from internet, and in the form of zip file, we are getting that Eclipse IDE that we unzipped, then we extracted that Eclipse IDE here. After that, we started this Eclipse IDE. Now, first time only it is taking much time here. Now it is in the process of opening that Eclipse IDE. Wait for it. Once it is completed, then we will start. Right, sir. I think so. First time it might be taking some time here. Next onwards. Okay. Now observe carefully. Whenever we are getting this Eclipse IDE, you know already the points now. We need to prepare workspace. Then where we want to prepare all of your application, there one workspace is required. Anyway, we have our original location in my system there. D:/frameworks. Inside the framework, then what we are having there is Spring framework. Spring framework. Now inside this Spring framework, just I want to say like what there. Eclipse apps. That's a workspace here. I'm going to create. No. Now here, what we have to do there? Select a folder. Now just I created Eclipse apps. Eclipse apps. All right, sir. D frameworks Spring Eclipse apps. Click on launch. Automatically that Eclipse ID will be launched. Whenever it is coming there, then we can start preparing the programs. Easily we can execute the programs now. I think you already aware about these steps now. Then how to open that Eclipse ID and how to work with Eclipse ID, all the things here we are aware already. All right, sir. Now here my requirement is what? I want to create a project. I want to create a project. To create a project, then what we have to do there? Simply create a project. We have to select where which project we want to create there. Java project I want to create. Select it. Click on next button. Now here it is asking about project details. First one, what we have to provide there, project name. Then what is this project name here? ABP01. For example, I'm going to prepare that. Java version is Java SE 17 or something else here we can provide there. Right, sir. Everything is okay, and click on next button. No need to provide anything here. Click on finish button. All right, sir. Don't create module. Module is not required. Open perspective. So this is common process only. How to use that Eclipse ID that I'm telling to you. Now here, if you observe carefully, if you observe clearly, ABP01 JRE system library, Java SE 17 and SRC we are having. This is about our Spring application. This is about our normal Java project that what we created. Okay, fine. But my requirement is this is normal Java program only. This is normal Java program only. But I want to make this normal Java application into Spring application. I want to make this normal Java project into Spring project. When a normal Java project is becoming as a Spring project, no. When we provide Spring environment inside the normal Java project, no, automatically that project is acting as what, no, Spring application. But what is the meaning of providing Spring environment here? No, the Spring environment we are able to provide by adding Spring framework jar files to our library. If we add Spring framework jar files to our library, automatically this project is converted to Spring project. But if you want to add jar files to our project, first you have to download the jar files or not. First you have to download the jar files from internet. Then after that only we have to add the jar files to our Spring project. Then how we are able to download this? Guys, all of you observe carefully. I want to download the Spring jar files. So just let us Google it. Now here I specified previously Eclipse downloads. No, now this time I want to provide Spring 5 downloads. Spring 5 downloads. A repo whether you are using or not, that doesn't matter. Spring 5 downloads. Right, sir. Whenever we are trying to download the Spring 5 downloads, no, here we are able to get some different downloadable things here we are getting there, but not required all of them. 1 minute, wait. A repo. One type of repository is existed previously, repo. Now observe guys, then what we have to open there, Spring 5 download repo where https://repo.spring.io. What is that URL we have to use there? That URL should be like what there, https://repo.spring.io. That we have to open there. Open a new tab. Here we are getting like what the JFrog. In a DevOps mode, this is one of the tool here. JFrog UI we are using there. There, I think so here, this is in black color, but I can specify the information to you. Try to observe this clearly. Here, at which place there no artifactory part is available. Artifactory part is available. Then after this artifactory, properties, builds, and artifacts. Three things are available. What three things you know? First one is what their packages. Next one is what their builds. Next one is what their artifacts. Three things are available. You have to select artifacts. Better to select what they know, artifacts. Under this artifactory, three things are available: packages, builds, artifacts. Click on artifacts. Click on artifacts. Whenever we click on these artifacts now, whenever we click on artifacts now, automatically a number of artifacts are created, available artifacts here we are getting. Now here what we have to do there, from this we have to select, from this we have to select, what we have to select there, simply libs hyphen release, where what we have to select there, no, libs hyphen release. In the material this process is not available, this is newly implemented one. That might be somewhat older content I given in the material there, but this is exactly at present we are using now. Libs release that we have to select. Now let me select this libs release here now. Whenever we are selecting that libs release now, automatically here we are getting some data. Right, sir. 1 minute. Right, sir. Here we are getting some data. Observe carefully. Whenever we select this lips release, no, here we are getting some data where we can identify URL to file that we are getting there. A separate URL is available here. Whenever we click on this lips release, no, then automatically here we are able to open that lips release here where we are able to get URL to file. URL to file option is available. Just select this one. Directly we can select it one. This is accessible. Directly we can select this here. Whenever we are selecting this, automatically again here what we are able to get there. Now we are able to get the repository kind of things now. Here we are able to get all the repository related things. Okay, here we are able to get what there repository related things. Now observe carefully. Repository related things are existed, no? Okay. In this repository related things, cglib, com, and all the things are existed here. Okay, now we have to select org. We have to select what there org. Inside this org, what we have to select there now? Tell me. Different things are available here. Gradle, Hibernate, and all. Now here we need to select what Spring framework or not. What we require there Spring framework. Select the Spring framework. If I select the Spring framework, there what we are able to get there. If we scroll down, there we are able to get Spring org Spring framework. There what we have to select then a Spring. Select that Spring. If we select that Spring, here we are able to have versions, Spring versions here we are able to have. Right, sir. Which version of the Spring framework here we are trying to use there? I'm trying to use the very latest version of the Spring framework. What is the very latest version of the Spring framework I'm trying to use there now? 5.3.9, 5.3.9 that I want to use. Select it. If I select it, there we are able to get the distributions for downloading now. What distributions here we require there? Right now here, Spring 5.3.9 hyphen dist.zip is available. Next one is a docs, schema, and some other things are available. We don't require all of them, just we require only the first one. Distribution we required. Spring 5.3.9 hyphen dist.zip, that what we required there. Click on this. If we click on this, automatically it's going to be downloaded. Now downloading is starting. So this is a way to download our Spring framework. Answer my point here. But maximum, I'm going to prepare the applications with Maven. Whenever we are going to work with Maven, not required to download all these jar files like this. Just we are going to provide some dependencies in our PAM file, PAM.xml file. Automatically, Maven tool will download the required jar files for us. Maven tool will add that required jar files to our project. But as of now, we are not using any Maven. At present, just we are going to prepare our applications explicitly without Maven. That's why we are downloading these jar files from internet. Okay. Right, sir. Almost all 78.6 MB. It is available. We'll use this. Okay. Almost all completing. Right, sir. Now completed. Show in folder. Right. In the download parts, I can see the Spring of 5.3.9 distribution. Let me cut it. I want to keep all my softwares on the E drive. E drive softwares now here. IDEs part is existed here. Now inside these IDs, not IDs, no. Then here I need to go for a new folder that would be like what their frameworks. I want to go for like what their frameworks. Right, sir. E softwares frameworks. Now inside this framework, just I want to go for Spring framework. Inside this Spring framework, I want to keep this paste. This is existed here. Now we cannot use this distribution file as a dependency. Dependency is nothing but one jar file, but here so many jar files are existed. This is only a zip file. That's it. Okay. So finally, we are getting the zip file or not? Guys, observe carefully. Finally, we are getting zip file or not. Now here, what I will do now, I want to extract this. Right click here and extract here. Right click here and extract here. If you click on this extract here, automatically a separate folder will be created. What is this folder here? We are getting there now. Spring Framework 5.3.9 folder will be created. Observe carefully. Okay, that folder is created. Whenever this folder is created here, open that folder. Inside this folder, libs folder is available. Inside this folder, what is available? Libs. Inside this libs, all the Spring related jar files are existed. Which jar files we required? Get the jar files, keep the jar files into our library, project library, then access it clearly. Yes, sir. All of you get my point or not? Okay. Now I'm telling to you, observe carefully. Up to now, what jar files can we downloaded there? Spring 5.3.9 jar files we downloaded that we kept at a particular location in my system. But along with the Spring jar files, I required Apache provided Commons logging. Commons logging jar is also required. What jar files here? Commons logging. I will list out this. What are the jar files we required for basic application? I'll give you a list now. But along with all these things, I required what there? Commons logging is also required. Commons logging is also required. So let me download it. Then what we have to do there? Now here we need to go for commons logging. Latest version only here we have to download. Commons logging jar download. See, the commons logging jar is provided by commons.apache.org. Directly Apache has provided that one. So try to open it. Okay, no issues. Just we can open it. Open a new tab. When we open in a new tab there we are able to get all the versions here we are getting there. All the versions here we are getting. Commons logging here we have a download option. Download option is available. Click on this download option. Yeah, here we are getting the download part here. Now observe carefully. Inside this download part here, Apache Commons logging 1.2 is existed. No, inside this 1.2, then what we have to get there? Commons logging 1.2 bin.zip. Bin.zip file is required. Select it. Then automatically here it was downloaded. Downloaded. Now here, show in folder. I want to cut this one also. Cut it. Then E drive inside the softwares. Now get inside this, just I want to provide like what there frameworks. Inside this framework, now get I want to provide like what there in softwares, better to provide like what there new commons logging, or else maybe it will be used mainly, for Spring applications only. So inside this frameworks and Spring there I want to provide like what there I want to paste here. Here itself I want to paste now. Then select it and right click on it, extract here. If I extract this one, commons logging 1.2, that folder is generated. Now inside this commons logging 1. Now tell me here what I completed up to now. Downloaded and installed Eclipse IDE. Second one is what? Downloaded all Spring jar files from internet. Now supported jar file is required. That is what now commons logging is required. That one also I downloaded. Am I right or not? Okay. After downloading them, what we have to do? I need to add the required jar files to my Spring project or not? Java project I created. If I want to make it a Spring project, no, we need to add all the Spring jar files to the Java project or not? Then it is becoming as what now? Then it is becoming a Spring project. So, but now before that, I want to say which projects, which jar files we require. Which jar files we require. Now let me list out of these jar files now. Spring core version. What is the version we are using here? 5.3.9 .jar. That is what we required. This is one jar file we required. Spring expression version .jar. Next one is Spring expression support .jar file. We require this. Then apart from this, Spring hyphen core is okay. Spring hyphen expression support is okay. Then apart from this, if I see this, then I can identify this. Now just 1 minute here. Beans, I forgot it actually. Spring hyphen beans also here we required here. Version dot jar file we required. Expression version, expression support version, and AOP is not required immediately. Whenever I'm going to talk about AOP, there I required that. Context support, context, sorry, not expression, context and expression. Okay, 1 minute. All right, now get this is like what there, spring context hyphen version is required dot jar file, context support version dot jar file is required. Then apart from this, context core, as of now, beans, next one is what their context support, then after that core expression, that's okay. All right, sir. Next one is like what there, then after that commons hyphen logging hyphen version dot jar. These jar files we required. These many jar files we have to be added to our like what there Java project. Now it is becoming as what there Spring project. Correct or not? Now let us add this one. Later I will show some standard approach also. But first of all, I need to add the required jar files to our Spring project. Now let me add this one. Where is my Eclipse IDE? Here we are having Eclipse IDE. Observe carefully. Then how to add these jar files? Now tell me guys. Then how to add these jar files? Now tell me. Right click on project. Right click on project. 1 minute guys. Let me go for some changes now. One minute. Okay. Right click here. Properties. Right click properties. Then here Java build path. I'm not going to prepare even a user defined library immediately. Directly I want to add jar files now. Let us take the Java build path. Now here libraries. Inside these libraries, here I have to go for like what there. Class path I have to select. Then add external jars. Click on add external jars. Go to the location where you kept all these jar files now. E drive, softwares, frameworks, Spring. Inside this Spring, first of all, I require commons logging or not. Open it. Let me add this. One thing we added there. Next one, after that, select a class path. Next one is add external jars. Then now here we have to go for Spring. Inside the Spring framework, libs. Inside this, we have to select our required one. Beans are required, context are required, context support are required. Context, next one is context support I required. After this, core I required. And then apart from this, expression I required. Up to core module, I selected there, all of them. What I required, no, all of them I selected. Remaining things are not required. Observe carefully what I selected here: logging, context support, core, and expression. But where is beans? No. Right, sir. Beans is also be required. That's also be selected here. Beans. So all the required jar files here we provided here. Next one is click on apply and close. Finish. Now here in the reference libraries we are getting all the jar files. Now tell me. Now this project is becoming as what? This project is becoming as what? Spring project. Okay, this project is becoming as what? Spring project. So all the jars we added. That means that setup we provided. Which setup we provided there? Just I prepared a Java project. I downloaded all Spring jar files from internet. The required jar files I added to my project. That's okay, fine. Next one, what steps here we require there? Then after that, create a Java project and download all Spring Boot, create a bean. Okay, fine. Up to this part we completed. Next one is what we have to do there. Next we have to prepare like what there, bean class here we have to prepare or not. Okay, now I want to show first program output now, but theory I'm not going to discuss there, but tomorrow I will discuss about the theory. Just observe this, how to prepare the Spring applications immediately. As we started this, let me prepare that. So here what I want to do there, I want to prepare a bean application. That means I want to prepare a small Java bean, hello bean. Hello bean I want to prepare. There I want to prepare say hello method. That is my business method. So for that purpose, what we have to do there, right click on src, new package. Right click on src, new package. Inside this, then what we have to provide there, com dot durgasoft dot, and then here I want to take like com dot durgasoft dot app01 dot beans. app01 is my application name. Com dot durgasoft dot app01 dot beans. Beans is a package name. Click on finish button. Right click on this beans package, new, a class I want to take, Java class here I want to take. What is the class name here I want to take here? Hello bean is a class name here I want to take. Okay, hello bean is a class name, nothing else. All right, observe carefully here. I don't require even main method and all these things. Of course, the font is not good. Just window preferences, and that's okay. Basic. Now inside this basic, text font editor, bold, and for example 18. That's okay. I think it is visible, right? Right, sir. Now inside this, just I want to take like what there, public string say hello. Then inside this, then what we have to do there, return hello user, something else. I want to display this value. Return, I want to return this value. So this is my business method. We can observe this clearly. Okay, my bean component is ready or not? Where I don't require properties and setter methods and getter methods. Definitely I'm going to prepare them in the future. But for my requirement, just to display hello user, then to just to display hello user, I require what they know, just a say hello method is required where I'm going to return some value. That's okay. Now this part is completed. Whenever this part is completed, then what next one here we have to do there, we need to prepare Spring configuration file. Spring configuration file is required. Why? Because listen carefully, in the case of Spring framework, we are not going to create objects for the bean components. For all these bean components, who is going to create objects now? Container is available. Container will create objects for this. But how container will aware we need to create objects for only these bean classes now? How container should know that? Container will come to the Spring configuration file for checking bean classes. If any bean class is available inside the configuration file, for them container will create object. For example, if I want to access the say hello method, object is required for this class or not? For example, I want to access this method. If I want to access this method, what should I do now? What I have to do now? I have to create object for this, then I have to call this method. That is a regular process. But in Spring, there is a condition. What is the condition? You should not create any object. As you are the developer, don't create object. For that, Spring is available. Spring will recognize all of your beans, and Spring will create objects for all of your beans, and Spring will provide that objects to you. Get that objects and access the methods. Understand it? How much work is very much simplified in Spring framework. If it is a core Java program, no. If you want to access this particular method, no, I have to create object for this class, then I have to access it. But if it is a Spring project, you should not create objects. Let that work to the container. Container will create object. Container will give that object to us. Then get that object, access that respective method. Simplification. Okay. But how container will create the objects now? For which classes container will create the objects now? How it is possible for us now? Right. Further, what I am telling there, to which bean classes we want to get objects, that bean classes must be configured in a separate configuration file. Spring configuration file we have to prepare. Inside the Spring configuration file, we have to prepare a configuration file. Inside this configuration file, we have to provide configuration for this hello bean class. If we provide this hello bean class configuration inside the Spring configuration file, when we activate container, container will come to the Spring configuration file. Container will take that bean class name. Container will create that bean class object, and a container will provide that bean object to our respective application. Got my point or not? So in the bean configuration file, we need to provide our configurations or not. Say for example, servlet applications, you know. Who is creating servlet object now? Tell me. A developer is creating or internally servlet container is creating servlet object. Servlet container. How does servlet container knows about the servlet class? No. How servlet container aware about the servlet classes? No. For which servlet class it has to create object. How servlet container knows about it? That we have to configure that servlet class name inside the web.xml file or not. Container will come to web.xml file. Container where it will check servlet class name. For that only it is creating object or not. Same scenario is available. If container wants to create object for any bean class, no, container will come to the Spring configuration file where it will check for the Spring class, respective Spring class, bean class. When if any bean class is identified, container will take that bean class. Container will create object for the respective bean class. So we need to configure this bean class inside the configuration file or not, in order to give information to the container about to create an object for the respective bean class. So definitely we have to configure this bean class inside the configuration file. How we are able to configure this bean class inside the Spring configuration file? So first of all, we need to take XML file. Multiple options are available for providing these configurations, no, but later I will discuss about all these things. First of all, let me prepare like what there. I need to prepare configuration file. Now try to understand this clearly. Guys, just give a minute of time. Let me check it. I think it is not visible properly for you. One minute, just give a minute of time. Okay, later I will check for it. And okay, some other settings I will provide it. Tree and table font. That's okay. Okay, fine. Not good. Okay. Right, sir. That's okay, fine. Now here I need to prepare like what no configuration file, Spring configuration file. Right click on it and new. I need to prepare a package. What package here I want to prepare there? Observe carefully. Com dot Durgasoft dot abb01 dot config. What is the package name I'm going to take? No, config. Com dot Durgasoft dot abb01 dot config. Click on finish button. Now here we are getting like what there a package here we are getting. Right click on it, new. I need to take an XML file. Here I have to take like what there other here we have to select no. Now here we need to go for like what there XML file here we need to get. Here we have to select XML. Select XML where XML is existed. XML file is available. Click on next button. Yeah, next button. If we click on next button, it is asking about file name. What is that file name here? I'm going to provide. You can use any file name, no issues for it. But what is that file name here? I want to provide there now. Spring config.xml. Spring config.xml that I want to use. Click on next button. What happened? Okay, now here we are getting Spring config.xml. What happens? Huh? Extraction? TXT. Why? XML file only. Spring config XML. If it take, then only we can do this. Otherwise, do one thing. I need to go for it. I think the package I have taken, and it may not be allowed that package. No, actually, it has to allow that package also. See what I am telling to you. Either we can take package or we can take source folder also. Source folders, if we take, then it will be okay. But let me try with the package first of all. Why? Because, say for example, here source folders are existed here. If I take the source folders, no, then what we are able to get there, what we have to use there. Now here we have to use com/Durgasoft slash what next one get then after that com/Durgasoft slash app01 slash next one is config. This is like what their source folders only. Then after that, here we have to take like what their XML. Right now here I need to go for like what their XML. Here we have to specify XML file. Next button. Okay. TXT file. Why it is taking TXT file here? Okay. Now this is like what I'm telling to you. Spring config.xml. TXT in the sense what it is creating? No, yeah. XML only. Okay, leave it, no problem. Let me take a file, normal file. Okay, like a file here we are getting now. Now here it is not created properly. Something is wrong. Wait a minute of time. No, wait, sir. Let me check this. com.durgasoft.app01.config. It has to open XML actually. What is the problem with this? File name. It is asking the text file it is taking. No. Anyway, spring-config.xml. Okay, don't worry. Then I have my file there already. Let me copy this. Let me check it. As part of my practice, might be previously maybe with 01. Not existed here also. So why it is not allowing? Is a problem. Program is okay. So we don't have any other option. Then we have to select XML file only. Not here. Even directly here we can prepare this. File if we take no, the Eclipse ID is not giving. 1 minute. Why it is taking txt file? Okay. Any name we can use. It is not mandated to use the same thing. Spring config dot. Even the txt file is also not taking. Problem with Eclipse ID, I think so. Cancel is also not working. 1 minute. Windows is because of these fonts now. Yeah, just wait a minute of time. Wait. Let me open it. I think already I had that XML file. Let me copy and paste that XML file. No, today just I want to show that output only. Then tomorrow again I'll give the total steps once again. I'll prepare that. First day we have to complete this example. That's why I'm thinking about it. Now here in SRC there's a folder here I want to paste this. Spring config.xml. I had already that XML file, no problem. Right, so now observe carefully. Already I prepared this. Now let me explain this. I think the Eclipse ID problem is going on. I'll set it on tomorrow anyway. Now try to observe this carefully. Now here, beans tag is available. How to get this particular one from our documents, I will show to you. How to get this XSD also, I will show to you. Beans tag. Inside this beans tag, only this tag only I prepared now. What is the tag here? Bean ID is equal to hello bean. It is a logical name, identity. But class is what? Com.durgasoft dot. What is that class name here? We provide there com.durgasoft dot abb01 dot beans. abb01 dot beans. Then what that name here now? Hello bean. Bean class name is what there? Hello bean. That's okay. Now this is my configuration file, Spring configuration file. See, this total thing we are able to get as a predefined, but only this one we are writing. For example, if you are writing in my program, only one bean class I have written. One bean class in the sense only one bean tag here we have to configure. For example, 10 beans if I provide now, 10 configurations we have to provide. For every bean, we have to provide the configuration now. Okay, now observe this clearly. Next one is after that we completed this. Now I need to prepare a test application, client application or test application. Why? Because we have to create the container. To that container, we have to provide that configuration file. Container will read the configuration from configuration file. It will create bean objects. That bean objects we are going to use in our application. So here we need to prepare test application. To prepare this test application, what I will do, right click on SRC, new package. What is this package that I'm going to use there? com.durgasoft dot abb01 dot. Then what next one here I want to provide the test. Right, sir. Now right click on this test package, new. Here I want to go for a class. What class here I want to take? The test is a class name where I required main method. Main method is also required. Try to select that main method. Click on finish button. Now here main class and main method is created. Now inside this main class and main method, what I'm going to do there? First of all, I need to create what I have to create there. No, that means container I need to create. We have to create container. I'm going to use application context container. Two types of containers are available in Spring Framework: Bean Factory and application context. Application context is a regular. Bean Factory is somewhat outdated. So let me use that application context. Application context. Application context is equal to new class path XML application context. Class path XML application context. Now to this container, I need to specify the configuration file name and location. Where is my configuration file? Actually, com/ in the form of string. We have to provide this. Now here we have to provide com/ Durgasoft / abb01 / config. Now inside this, what is the name I provided there? Spring config.xml. Spring config.xml. That we are getting clearly. Application context is equal to new class path XML application context com/ Durgasoft / abb01 / config / spring config.xml. That we have to prepare now. Okay. Finally, application context object is created. What this application context will do now? It will go to the location of the Spring configuration file. It will read all the bean configuration from Spring configuration file. For each and every bean, it will create an object. For each and every bean, it will create an object. Okay, fine. Whenever it is creating object, now object is ready or not? The bean object is ready or not? Inside the container, this application context is acting as a container. Inside this, that bean object, allow bean object is available or not? Now I want to get that allow bean object. That's why here what we have to do there, allow bean is equal to, then what we have to do now, that hello bean object is available inside the application context object with the logical name is what now? Hello bean. With the logical name is what now? Hello bean. On the base of this name only, we have to search for bean object now. So here what we have to do there, now here we have to go for context dot get bean method is available. There we have to provide logical name. What is the logical name here? We have to provide there hello bean. Now here typecasting is required. It will return directly in the form of object, but that object value must be converted to hello bean. Now we are getting hello bean object. Now here what we are doing now, string message is equal to hello bean dot say hello method. Then we can display that message. System.out println of message. That's it. Automatically if I execute this, here we are able to get some output. Now let me execute this now. To execute this, here we have an execute button. Button is available now. Directly click on this button here. Automatically the program is executed. Here we are getting output like this. What's that output here we are getting? Then no, hello user. That output here we are getting. Got it or not? That everything is okay. But only the problem is not from my side. Problem is with IDE. Let me check once IDE, then I will reinstall this IDE again. I'll freshly download once again from internet. I'm going to use that. I think there is a problem with IDE only, not with any other one. No need to worry for this. Now this is what we are getting, like what exactly the application here we are preparing for this particular content. Right, sir. Anyway, just have given some steps in a practical view, but tomorrow one by one, once again, I'm going to prepare this application. Once again, I will show step by step to you. By that, we are able to get some clarity. Okay. All right, sir. Now, tomorrow also we have session there. Don't miss that one. Tomorrow, I will show once again this one, and I will give that internal flow of execution also. How this program is executed internally. That internal flow of execution also I will provide to you. By that, you are able to get some clarity. Then I will go for this another content there. No need to worry for this. Definitely, I will elaborate this total program. Once again, I will show this content here. In the middle, we structured there while creating XML document. Then I will show once again. No need to worry for this. Okay. Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot. We'll meet on tomorrow. Guys, and those who are attending in online, no need to worry for this. Then I'll explain this entire content once again. Once again, just attend for this. Then you'll understand that everything. Not to worry for this. Thank you, guys.